Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anna Shurgunina, and I'm excited to be here with you today, and I've got a guest. And so this afternoon, I wanted to chat with Sarah Fallaw from DataPoints, an interesting company that has come up with and Sarah, correct me if I'm misquoting this,
Yep.
but came up with interesting technology and tools and from research based on a very famous book called The Millionaire Next Door. And so Sarah's dad wrote this book years ago and done numerous research. And so our chat today is for us to get a better sense of how behaviors, right, how our behaviors and experiences can actually help us predict whether we're going to be wealthy or not. And I'm sure this is a topic that everyone wants to get their hands on. So Sarah, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, excited. So why don't we just dive in? Talk a little bit about what DataPoints does and how do you guys tie in all of that research and, what's the connection with the book?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are, DataPoints is focused on really understanding individuals' life experiences and behaviors that are indicative of building wealth. So just like you described, we took the research that went into The Millionaire Next Door, The Millionaire Mind, and other books, as well as research out there in the academic fields of financial planning and career development and industrial psychology as well, and said, what are the traits and the factors that make someone really good at building wealth, really good at managing their financial life? And so that's what DataPoints came up with our assessments that help advisors understand their clients, help their clients understand themselves, and then ultimately help them build better behaviors.
Mm-hmm. And so if I understand this correctly, you guys say that these traits can actually be learned. So it's basically like a skill that you can develop.
Right. So, a little bit of it's personality. So when you think about anything that we do, it's a lot of nature and nurture, right? So it's a lot of maybe I was already really conscientious. So I paid a lot of attention to detail. And now I'm applying that, let's say, to my financial life. But the good news about what we measure and the good news about what, again, what we're focused on is that these behaviors can change. You can change behaviors. Now, it's not something that can necessarily happen overnight. Like, let's say I've spent 40 years, for example, spending a certain way, but they can be changed with help and with guidance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, because it's always interesting. So for us as advisors, right, financial planners, financial advisors tend to be perceived are people who are number crunchers, all that kind of strict, specific data focus. Yep. But in reality, we tend to deal with people, right? Or that's pretty much what we do most of the time. And so the behavioral piece comes in really handy because, like you said, there are years and years of ingrained data, right, in our mind.
Right.
How we think of our money and even some of the decisions, and we don't even realize that it's just been there, and there's a way to perhaps do better. And so in the tools that you guys provide an assessment, so how would something like that work? I'm an advisor myself, so how would that be utilized in client meetings, behind the scenes? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that, again, they're assessments. So if you think about maybe a personality test or something like that you might have taken before, that gives you a sense of what these are. But clients are invited to take them. We have different ones that really are applicable to different situations and clients. And after they complete the assessment, you as an advisor receive a report that helps you understand their patterns of behaviors or attitudes, whatever we might be measuring. Mm-hmm. And then we have a report for the client. And then ultimately what we provide as well is their recommendations that will help either the advisor or the individual change those behaviors or maybe alter those attitudes just a little bit, again, to help them move towards a more financial success.
Yeah, interesting. And so if because we have viewers from all kinds of angles, if individuals themselves wanted to kind of find out, how can they get better? How can they figure out what their wealth potential is? What can they do? Can you share with us, please?
Yeah, so really think about kind of, again, going back to this idea of financial management as a job at home, right? So within your household. And if you think about your strengths and weaknesses and kind of list those out, that's one way to think about how you might begin to change. Obviously, our assessments do that efficiently and on the larger scale. But as an individual, you can think about, okay, am I making decisions, for example, about my spending behaviors based on what everyone around me is doing? Maybe everyone in my workplace or my neighbors or my friends. That's a clear sign that you might want to kind of take stock of how you're making some of those consumer behaviors. Maybe you're not confident, for example, in your decision making. If you find yourself second guessing some of the decisions that you're making, that might be a sign that you want to build your knowledge related to financial management, financial planning. So there are some things, if you kind of, again, sit down and take stock of how you're doing at the job that you have within your household. One of the important jobs that you have, of course, we all have tons of jobs within our household, but again, that's one that you can really kind of sit down and think through, okay, where are my strengths and weaknesses and what do I need to do to change?
Got it. And so it's just more of a personal question, I guess. But what was it like growing up with a dad who wrote such a famous book?
It's so funny. When he wrote that book and it was published and it was first on the New York Times bestseller list, I was in college, so it was 1996. We had just had the Olympics in Atlanta. I was at the University of Georgia. So I kind of, that. It was interesting because, he would tell me about it, but I had no interest in what was going on at the time, so it was like, I'm in college, I'm doing my own thing. You've got this book that sounds like people like it. It really was only, later when I realized the impact and the importance of what he had done.
Yeah. Interesting, right? I think a lot of times, and a lot of advisors can agree with this, that we put, or just, folks that have done something significant, they can see that, okay, maybe your immediate family and friends aren't just...
Exactly.
I speak for myself from the standpoint, it's very hard to give my family financial advice. It's like, do they even take it? You get it for free. Hey.
Exactly. That's right. Yep.
But it doesn't happen as often. Well, it's great. So, tell everyone how they can stay in touch with you. We're looking forward to hosting you guys at our event coming up in actually less than 2 weeks, September 24th, XYPN conference. I know you guys are going to be there. So, so this is for a collective women gathering. And there is actually, I've learned too, something new as I was getting to know Sarah. There is a book that's specifically targeted for women. Can you mention that too?
Yes. So my father studied women, small business owners, successful women that had also been in a situation where maybe they weren't the financial manager within their household, and all of a sudden they were in a situation where that was their primary responsibility all of a sudden. And that was called the Millionaire Women Next Door. And really he surveyed, again, millionaires, decamillionaires that were women, and really focused on again, their attitudes and habits and perspective, given the fact that they were so successful. And I think, it's definitely something that, I remember fondly, because that was the book when he went on Oprah Winfrey and I got to sit in the audience, and then I started caring, when I got to, but it really is inspiring and has some of those stories, and as well as the survey data and the research behind some of the habits and attitudes of those women as well.
I'm getting my hands on that book for sure.
Yep, definitely. Well, so and we're excited to be there in St. Louis with XYPN and at Collective as well. And if you want to learn more about us, we're at DataPoints.com, and you can learn about us. And we're just, thank you for having me.
Yes, very excited. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and wisdom. Everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll see you hopefully in St. Louis in a few weeks, less than a few weeks, and stay in touch. Thank you, Sarah. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.